In the first fight, we have Chandler versus Joselyn Edwards. Chandler's 34 years old, 6-3, 3-2 in her last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 8 months ago. Chandler lands 3.53 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.06. She has a 33% finish rate and is a plus 165 underdog. Joselyn Edwards, 29 years old, 14-6, 3-2 in her last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 5 months ago. Edwards lands 4.48 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.19. She has a 45% finish rate and is a minus 205 favorite. Chandler's on a 1-fight skid and will be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Edwards is coming off a win. She's faced solid competition in Eileen Perez, Nora Cornell, and Carol Rosa. Chandler is also 2-2 since joining the UFC. I think we're going to see a lot of grappling here and just being in the clinch and on the ground. When at range, I think Edwards is the slightly better striker. She gives out a little bit more output and has a higher accuracy rate. Give me Joselyn Edwards to get it done. What's up, everybody? Crossover MMA back in here for another video. Now let's get back into UFC Kansas City. In the next fight, we have Timmy Cuamba versus Roberto Romero. Cuamba's 26 years old, 8-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 10 months ago. Cuamba lands 3 significant strikes per minute, and he has a 36% finish rate. Romero's 25 years old, 8-4-1, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 5 months ago. Romero lands 4.93 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 8.07, has a 39% finish rate. Cuamba's on a 2-fight skid, still looking for his first win in the UFC. Romero's on a 1-fight skid himself and also looking for his first win inside the UFC. This fight should mostly play out on the feet. Their numbers are very similar everywhere. Truly a toss-up fight. Either guy can win, but I'm just gonna go with Romero, but take that with a grain of salt. In the next fight, we have Jaqueline Amorim versus Polyana Viana. Amorim is 29 years old, 9-1, 4-1 in their last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 7 months ago. Amorim lands 3.05 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.72. She has a 90% finish rate and is a minus 360. Viana's 32 years old, 13-7, 2-3 in her last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 1 year. Viana lands 2.99 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.65. She has a 65% finish rate and is a plus 285 underdog. Jaqueline Amorim comes into this fight on a 3-fight win streak, and some real momentum. All 3 by finish, 2 subs, and 1 TKO. She's 3-1 since joining the UFC. Viana's on a 2-fight skid, no wins over anyone still in the UFC. Viana's also been out of the octagon for 14 months. I think Amorim has a very clear path to victory here. Get the takedown, use her BJJ, and look for the submission. If she isn't able to get it, she can also win rounds with control time. Viana is also a legit submission threat as well. I mean, she's got 8 submission wins on her resume. Something also to keep in mind, Viana hasn't won a fight since 2022 against Jin Yu Frey. Give me Jaqueline Amorim here. In the next fight, we have Malcolm Wellmaker versus Cameron Saaiman. Wellmaker's 30 years old, 8-0, coming off a TKO win 7 months ago. Wellmaker lands 8.05 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 7.65, is a 75% finish rate, and is a minus 130 favorite. Saaiman is 24 years old, 9-2, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 1 year ago. Saaiman lands 5.32 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.18, has a 64% finish rate, and is a plus 110 underdog. First off, this is going to be a fun little scrap. Wellmaker will be making his UFC debut off of Dana White's Contender Series. This guy's a striker with legit power in both hands. Uses good footwork and has really good speed as well. Cameron Saaiman is a young, condensed version of Dricus du Plessis. Very helter-skelter style, uses a lot of different weapons, switches stances, uses kicks from both sides, but his Achilles heel, in my opinion, is he gets hit way too much. He doesn't have the best head movement. It's gotten him in trouble in his last few fights. Wellmaker will enjoy a 5-inch reach advantage as well. Both guys are very high output, and I think this is excellent matchmaking for the entertainment value. I think Cameron Saaiman is very dangerous in this spot as an underdog, but I'm going to go with the debutant and Wellmaker to get it done. We don't know how Saaiman is going to bounce back after that brutal KO loss in his last fight against Peyton Talbot. In the next fight, we have Blackshear versus Alatenghelli. Sorry about that name. Blackshear is 30 years old, 16-7-1, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 1 month ago. Blackshear lands 3.93 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.17, has a 54% finish rate, and is a minus 345 favorite. Alatenghelli is 33 years old, 17-9-2, 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 1 month ago. He lands 2.64 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.67, has a 29% finish rate, and is a plus 265 underdog. Blackshear is starting to get some momentum. He's on a 2-fight win streak, both submission wins. Blackshear is also making a very quick turnaround, having fought just 1 month ago. On the other side, Alatenghelli hasn't fought in 11 months. I think both men are just going to be filling each other out on the feet. It's a matter of time before the grappling sequences start. Both men land almost 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. Blackshear started very slow in his last fight and nearly got finished in the first round. I think that experience will help him big time going forward in his career, letting him know when the fight starts, you have to be ready. Give me Blackshear to get it done here. In the next fight, we have Gutierrez versus Castaneda. Gutierrez is 33 years old, 21-6-2, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 8 months ago. Gutierrez lands 4.72 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.64, has a 35% finish rate, and this is a pick'em fight. Castaneda is 33 years old, 21-7, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 10 months ago. Castaneda lands 4.67 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 5.22, has a 50% finish rate, and like I said, this is a pick'em fight. Gutierrez got back in the win column in his last fight. He's fought some solid competition in Song Yadong and Pedro Munoz. On the other side, Castaneda has also been in there with some solid competition as well. Daniel Santos, Muin Gaffarov, Nathaniel Wood. This is kind of a crossroads fight for both men, in my opinion. Win and move into possibly a top 15 matchup next, and lose and you're pretty much just fighting unranked guys and up-and-coming guys. This is one of the best leg kickers in the UFC. He has brutal calf kicks from both stance, inside and outside low kicks from both sides, and they are lethal. Sometimes he falls in love with using too many feints and too many leg kicks. I think he'll sit down on his shots a bit more in this fight, as both men have the same type of output, but I think Castaneda is going to be walking forward and bringing the fight to Gutierrez. It does have the potential of being a slow fight, but like I just said, I really think Castaneda is going to have to walk forward and force the action. Castaneda does have a grappling element in his game and can look to use that if Gutierrez is getting the better of him on the feet. This is a very close fight, as it is a pick'em in the odds, but I'm going to go with Gutierrez. I just think on the feet, he's the more skilled technical striker, and he'll get the job done. In the next fight, we have Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. Schnell is 35 years old, 16-9, 1-4 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission loss 7 months ago. Schnell lands 4.39 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.64, he has a 44% finish rate, and is a minus 295 favorite. Flick is 34 years old, 17-8, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 10 months ago. Flick lands 1.94 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 5.43, has a 60% finish rate, and is a plus 225 underdog. Schnell's on a 3-fight skid, even retired after his last fight when he got submitted. He's faced some really quality competition when you think about it. Alexandre Pantoja, Brandon Royval, and Steve Erceg, just to name a few. Jimmy Flick is 2-3 in the UFC and looking to get back in the win column himself. Schnell will enjoy a 2-inch reach advantage and will be the better striker, in my opinion. Flick's output is pretty low and he gets hit a lot. Flick will have to get this fight to the ground for his best chance to win, in my opinion. Schnell isn't a slouch on the ground. This is a tough one to pick, as there's no telling where Schnell's head, heart, and confidence are at right now. I'm going to go with Schnell. I just think this matchup suits him very well. In the next fight, we have Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. Aliskerov is 32 years old, 15-2, 3-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 9 months ago. Aliskerov lands 7.03 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 7.27, is a 65% finish rate, and is a minus 625 favorite. Muniz is 35 years old, 24-6, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 1 year ago. Muniz lands 1.97 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.99, is a 63% finish rate, and is a plus 450 underdog. This should be an interesting matchup at middleweight. Aliskerov is coming off his main event TKO loss to Robert Whittaker 9 months ago at UFC Saudi Arabia. He was on a tear before that fight, winning 7 fights in a row. Andre Muniz needs to regain his 2022 form where he had a lot of momentum in the rankings and potentially making his way up the division. Things changed a lot in 3 years. Going 2-1 and not being active aren't great. On the feet, this should be interesting to see how Muniz looks. Muniz usually does his best work on the ground, but I think that would be a challenge in getting the fight to the ground against Ikram. Muniz will enjoy a 2-inch reach advantage, but is pretty low output on the feet. Ikram's a former combat sambo champion, so his grappling is legit. On the feet, I think Ikram will be slightly better as Muniz still looks a bit out of his element on the feet. I think Muniz won't be able to get the takedowns against Ikram. I just think that Ikram's takedown defense is very, very good, and this fight will definitely play out on the feet. Give me Ikram Aliskerov to get it done. In the next fight, we have Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. Randy Brown's 34 years old, 19-6, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a robbery decision loss 4 months ago. Brown lands 4.35 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.24, he has a 48% finish rate, and is a -205 favorite. Dalby's 40 years old, 23-5-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 9 months ago. Dalby lands 4.06 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.52, he has a 38% finish rate, and is a +170 underdog. Randy Brown will be making his return after 4 months away. He's a long, rangy striker, good jab, right straight, and really good low kicks. Good footwork and just movement all around. He stands very bladed, so he's very susceptible to leg kicks, so that is definitely something that will be there for Nicholas Dalby. Dalby will be making his return after being out of the octagon for 9 months. The guy's an absolute dog, always in fun fights, and is always down for a good scrap. Pretty well-rounded, solid striker, very strong in the clinch. Both men are coming off losses. Randy Brown will enjoy a 3-inch reach advantage. Dalby's also 40 years old. As we know, Father Time is undefeated. I think the speed and reach of Brown will give Dalby some trouble early. He's gonna have to get inside, slip some shots to get inside and get in the boxing range, use the clinch and even some leg kicks to try and slow Randy Brown down. Ultimately, I just think Brown's speed, quickness, and youth are gonna be too much for Dalby. Give me rude boy Randy Brown. In the next fight, we have Micheel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. Pereira's 31 years old, 31-12, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 5 months ago. Pereira lands 4.46 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.23, he has a 47% finish rate, and is a -165 favorite. Magomedov is 34 years old, 27-6-1, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission win 5 months ago. Magomedov lands 2.65 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.35, he has a 62% finish rate, and is a +130 underdog. Micheel Pereira is coming off a beating from Fluffy Hernandez. Abus Magomedov showed us another element to his game, using his wrestling and grappling, getting a submission win in his last fight against Bruno Ferreira. I'm expecting this fight to take place on the feet with 2 big, powerful strikers. Pereira was on a tear at middleweight before the Fluffy Hernandez fight, winning 3 fights in a row in the weight class. Abus is trying to continue his momentum. He's on a 2-fight win streak currently. Both men have big power and should be a very explosive fight. Pereira uses a bit more output as he's just an absolute wild man on the feet. Abus uses the wrestling here and controls Pereira, is a good path to victory for him. I think Pereira's 77% takedown defense will make that very tough for him to get takedowns. I really hope this fight plays out on the feet and we just get an absolute banger. This is a close fight in my opinion. I do think Abus is a very live dog here. This is a toss-up for me, as I think this fight is gonna be very competitive, but I'm gonna go with Micheel Pereira. It's a really tough fight. In the next fight, we have Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. Chikadze's 36 years old, 15-4, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 8 months ago. Chikadze lands 3.92 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.5, is a 53% finish rate, and is a +150 underdog. Onama's 30 years old, 13-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 5 months ago. Onama lands 5.6 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 5.07, he has a 73% finish rate, and is a -185 favorite. I'm very excited for this fight. This should be a lot of fun and definitely should be a striker's delight. Giga Chikadze looked improved in his last fight against Arnold Allen. We know he has powerful kicks, Giga really likes that left body kick to the liver. Onama might take it away and just stay mostly southpaw in this fight as he uses both stances. He's a very fun fighter. He's very high output and really just goes for it. He's always in entertaining fights. The fight's most pivotal part for me, it will be whether Onama will keep the fight in boxing range or if he will allow Giga to keep the fight in kickboxing range. Giga Chikadze is a very elite striker at kickboxing range. Onama has a tendency of slowing down after the first round, and that'll definitely be something to pay attention to in this fight. Get you a cold beverage and enjoy this fight, people. I really like what I saw from Giga in his last fight against Arnold Allen, so I'm going to go with the underdog here. I like the experience, so give me Giga Chikadze. In the co-main event, we have Anthony Smith versus Zhang Mingyang. Anthony Smith's 36 years old, 38-21, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 4 months ago. Smith lands 3.2 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.88, has a 59% finish rate, and is a plus 380 underdog. Mingyang is 26 years old, 18-6, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO win 4 months ago. Mingyang lands 8.57 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 5.59, has a 75% finish rate, and is a minus 530 favorite. This would be Anthony Smith's retirement fight. I guess the UFC wants to send him off with a bang, literally. Anthony Smith hasn't looked like he's been fully there in his last few fights. Doesn't offer up much on the feet anymore. Gets consistently chopped by calf kicks time and time again. He's an opportunistic grappler that can always catch Zhang if he makes a bad decision. On the flip side, Zhang is a powerful striker with big-time power in his hands. In his last 10 fights, he's 10-0, all finishes. I think this fight will take place on the feet. Smith would need to be on his bike and look to avoid getting caught clean and then look to counter. I don't think this is going to end well for Anthony Smith. Give me Zhang Mingyang and to send Anthony Smith out on his shield. Before we get into the main event, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more content. In the main event, we have Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. Garry's 27 years old, 15-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 4 months ago. Garry lands 4.72 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.82, has a 50% finish rate, and is a minus 125 favorite. Prates is 31 years old, 21-6, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO win 5 months ago. Prates lands 4.39 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.6. He has a 70% finish rate and is a plus 100 underdog. Ian Machado Garry is looking to bounce back from a decision loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov on short notice. Garry nearly finished Shavkat late in the fight using his grappling. Showing a dimension we didn't really know he had. We saw a little bit of it in the MVP fight, but he definitely showed he can be dangerous on the ground in the Shavkat fight. Carlos Prates has been on a tear. He's on an 11-fight win streak and a 10 KO streak. On the feet, I think the only success Garry has is with his kicks, whether that's inside low kicks, outside low kicks, or head kicks. I think Prates' hands will be clearly better than Garry's. Prates will enjoy a 3-inch reach advantage. Prates looks to finish the fight and has big power in both hands. It'll be interesting to see if Garry can get the fight to the ground with Prates having 92% takedown defense. We saw some holes in Garry's striking in the MVP fight, but he showed really good fight IQ and used his grappling to get the win. Will Garry's striking be improved enough to mix it up with Prates on the feet? I think so. I think he'll definitely be able to mix it up, but I just think on the feet, Prates is going to be the better striker. Will Garry use his grappling to make Prates tentative on the feet? That definitely sounds like a good recipe that he should use to potentially win the fight. Do the fight nerds just continue all this momentum and this road that they've been on? The fight will either show Garry is back as a top contender or we have a new title challenger in Prates. I'm going to take the underdog here. Give me Carlos Prates and get it done. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. Questions, comments, thoughts, and your feedback are always welcome. And as always, until next time.